You're about to discover 10 tips on how you can go on a cruise, have a huge amount of fun, still indulge, and not put on a huge amount of weight. Hi, I'm Gary Bembridge, and this is another of my tips for travelers. On average, cruisers put between 5 and 10 pounds of weight on when they go on a 7-day cruise. So how can you go on a cruise, have a huge amount of fun, and not pile on the pounds? Of course, one of the key things with controlling your weight is it's a game of maths. It's balancing the amount of calories you take in with the amount of calories you burn. So let's take a look at some of the tips around how you can control calories but still indulge and have fun. One of the things I really recommend you do is actually choose to go to the main dining room rather than the buffet restaurant. First of all, because there's portion control. So the size of the portions that you get served is much more controlled than if you're on a buffet where you end up just out of habit piling up your plates. Now, if you do decide you want to go to the buffet, a couple of little tips that will make a big difference. First of all, choose the smaller plate. Grab one of the smaller plates because actually, again, it's mentally reducing and helping with portion control. The other thing that I like to do if I go to the buffet is what I do with my plate is I start by putting the healthy stuff on the plate first, because then I find the plate's full of healthy stuff and then there's less space. It's just much easier to not load it up with the bad things. So a couple of changes if you go to the buffet can make a really big difference. Once you're actually in the dining room or at a meal, I have a couple of things that will also make a huge difference, not get in your way of enjoying yourself or indulging. First of those is look for the spa menu. So most cruise ships will have some kind of spa or healthy option menu. They'll normally have a starter, a main course, and a dessert. Start by looking at those choices first and seeing if any of those appeal, because you'll be surprised. They can make a dramatic difference in terms of the amount of calories, salt, fat, those kind of things, and they are designed to be delicious. Secondly, then look at the fish. Now, on many cruises, you're going to have local fishes and great fish that's been brought on board. Not only is it good for you health-wise, but it's going to save a lot of calories, and you might try some exciting new fish types and varieties. Also, what I do is not assume that I'm always going to have all courses. So I take a look at the menu and say, actually, I'm just going to have a main and a dessert or a starter. So actually choose 1 or 2 courses and have things that you really, really want. There is a certain routine and habit you get into every night of having 3 courses. The other thing that I recommend that you think about is avoiding specialty restaurants. First of all, because they're going to cost you more money. But secondly, because you're paying more money to go to a specialty restaurant on most ships. You are therefore in a mindset of eating all courses, starters, main course, desserts. So you do end up eating much more than you plan. So I find when I go on a cruise, I try and minimize the amount of times I go to specialty dining because I do end up eating much more than I plan to eat. Avoid bread and the bread baskets. If you're on a cruise ship where they bring a bread basket, say to your waiter either no thanks or make sure they don't keep topping it up. Save those calories for something a little bit more exciting. The other thing I do, which has made a huge difference, is have steamed vegetables. So instead of whatever, perhaps the stuff that's coming with the main course, with the steak or chicken or whatever, I often ask for steamed vegetables or spinach, vegetables that I really like, but I avoid all the vegetables that are perhaps really greasy, made with lots of butter. Of course, then try and cut back on the various sauces and dressings. So when you're ordering, you can either ask for the dressing on the side or ask them to switch it out. But actually just look at the dressings, because often the big calories are in the dressings that come with meals, not the actual meal itself. My next tip is one that can probably save you a lot of money, but also save you a lot of calories. And that's actually avoid drinks packages, particularly those drinks packages which are all inclusive. They can be pretty pricey, but also there is a sense that you have. Certainly that's what happens for me, is I feel that I need to get my money's worth. So by not having a drinks pack, it doesn't encourage me to keep drinking and actually drinking things that have a lot of calories in. Now, whether you've gone for a drinks package or you're buying individual drinks, then a couple of critical things to do is try and think about what are great drinks that you like, but perhaps a little bit lighter on calories. So for example, avoid cocktails. On cruise ships, people, even though they don't, when they're normally out and about, seem to drink a lot of cocktails. They are packed full of calories. They're full of sugar and they are very, very heavy in calories. If you're a beer drinker, perhaps think about lighter beers. Also, if you prefer spirits, think about spirits which are perhaps a little bit lower in calories. So for example, vodka tends to have lower calories than many of the other spirits, so that's a great choice. If you're a wine drinker, consider drinking spritzes, i.e. white wine and club soda, because again, that still gives you your wine hit or your wine taste, but is much lower in calories. You don't have to give up drinking. Obviously, the more you can moderate the amount of alcohol you drink, the better, because they are very calorific. But just by making a couple of switches and changes to what you do will help. But you can still go out, have fun in the bars, and still be drinking. Now, if you're on a cruise which includes wine with meals, make sure that your waiter is not just filling and refilling your glass. Because if the waiters, because they're very good at doing that, keep topping up your glass, you could end up having 3 or 4 glasses of wine. If you're a coffee drinker, make sure that you're asking for things like skinny lattes or skinny cappuccinos. You'll find many of the vending machines or the self-service machines will have cream or full-fat milk in. So again, just by switching to skinny, low-fat, you can still have your coffees, your lattes, your cappuccinos. The same, of course, with hot chocolate. For me, I'm a big fan of hot chocolates on cruises. Try and always make it a skinny hot chocolate. The other thing when it comes to drinks is try and have diet colas or sodas, not the full-on sodas and colas if you possibly can. So let's take a look at some very simple ways of burning calories and still having fun. First of all, one of the things that I do that really made a huge difference was ditch the elevators, ditch the lifts, and use the stairs. Particularly if you're on a big mega ship, it's a lot of stairs to walk up and down. But if you never use the elevators and you use the stairs, you are constantly burning calories. It's not a huge deal. You can take it at your own pace, but seriously, it makes a huge difference. Also, it means you're not waiting for elevators. And if you only do one thing, is use the stairs, not the elevators. Get your steps up. This is, again, a very easy way of burning calories without really noticing. Of course, there's some active things you can do. So, for example, many cruise ships will have either a running track or a walking track, or on ships that have promenades that go all the way around. Use it every single day. Get out there and take a walk on the track or around the promenade deck. You'll find it's actually quite social, and on many cruises, they will often have group get-togethers where you'll go as a group and walk around. On many cruise ships, you walk 3 times around the promenade deck and you've done a mile already. Of course, walk the ship is another great thing to do. So after dinner, after a meal, just walk around the ship, stroll around, because again, walking is a great, simple way of burning calories. Of course, another great way of getting your steps up is ditch the panoramic bus tours and go on more walking tours. You're going to see the sights, you're going to get a chance to talk to the various passengers around you, and you're going to be burning calories while still having a great time sightseeing. The next key tip I've got is you can burn calories while actually having fun. So instead of just lying around on a lounger, which of course you may want to do for some of the vacation, is take advantage of all the fun things to do on a ship. But you can go and play table tennis, you can go to the sports deck where often they will be hosting various little activities and events. You may be on a ship where it's got activities like flow riders, ice skating, basically fun things that are going to keep you active and burn up your calories. Dancing is another great way of burning calories. You can go to dancing classes or even just going out dancing. So whether you're into ballroom dancing or disco dancing, you're having fun and dancing, and you'll be surprised actually how dancing is going to chew through a whole bunch of calories. Of course, there's also going to be organized activities like gym classes or water aerobics. These can be very sociable. They're a great way of going, having fun, meeting other passengers, and they are actually very sociable events. My next tip is about being active on shore. So I've already mentioned that you could go on walking tours, but you'll find increasingly cruise ships are offering much more active tours. So you can go cycling, you can go kayaking, you can go much more active hiking. Look for excursions which have much more activity to them, and again, you can have a huge amount of fun, perhaps even test some of your limits and try things that you haven't tried before. Even, for example, look for active things to do if you're not going on an organized excursion. For example, in KOTOR, I took time to walk up the huge big hill that overlooks the port. I got great views, it didn't cost me anything, and spent a whole lot of calories. My next 3 tips are more general tips, but they do make a big difference, and I find they've actually helped me a lot. First of all, look at what you pack. So what a lot of people do when they pack is they think about packing things they can grow into. If you take along some of your favorite clothes that you know fit you well when you're kind of at a weight that you're happy with, it is a little way of nudging you if you're eating too much. So if you're going to a meal wearing trousers that you normally feel very comfortable in, it's a little reminder about what feels comfortable. It's a little sort of thing that nags in the back of your head. Don't pack elasticized pants. Don't pack clothes that you can grow into. It's just a little thing that's going to nudge you and keep you sort of on the straight and narrow. Secondly, avoid things from the spa that are claiming they're going to help you lose weight, unless it's a fitness class. On ships, you'll find all sorts of wrap products, treatments you're going to pay a lot of money for where they claim to help reduce cellulite and weight. Avoid those because they are not going to make a difference. Another great tip, of course, is to go on a wellness cruise. Increasingly, with the growth of and popularity of themed cruises, a lot of river cruises and ocean cruises have wellness cruises where they try and have great menus, great drinks, activities, excursions which are all around wellness. So they make sure that you eat well, you eat fantastic stuff, you can indulge, but actually it's all with a wellness spin. Cruises report they put on between 5 and 10 pounds of weight on a 7-day cruise. Going on a cruise and having a great time, but then having to go on some big diet regimen afterwards is not a great end to the vacation. So hopefully with these 10 tips and 10 ideas, you can actually go on a cruise, you can have a great time, but come back from your cruise weighing the same, only putting on a little bit of weight, or even having lost weight. I've followed these tips and they have worked for me. I've been on cruises of 7 weeks or longer and come away from that cruise actually weighing less than I did when I went on, feeling fitter and healthier by following these tips. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you watched many more of my tips for travelers videos because they're designed to help you make much more of your precious travel time and money on both land and at sea.